What's going on, everyone? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. I'm riding with two of my best buddies. And who would have thunk it, right? By the way, the lineup changed numerous times today, but I'm here with both Soul and Anthony. I think the last time we were on air together, we were fresh off of a sick dinner in Los Angeles. But today we are unfortunately in our separate geographic locations. It is Saturday, April 15th. We've got a sick episode on the docket. Obviously I have introduced him first. We've got Anthony Ricciardi on, it would be my left. I'm facing the screen. From Philadelphia. How are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. It's my third day in a row. I think I'm doing this.
Well, you didn't mention it to me, but you did talk about the slight washer dryer leak, and I want you to know I'm wishing you the best on this, and it's a big move.
I almost missed the show over this, but
to make the show.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a flooded basement.
No.
Nobody. But Soul, all the way from Scotland. How are you feeling, my friend? It's good to see you once again, as always.
It's good, mate. I'm feeling lighter. You know, there's not so much weight on my head anymore, so I'm feeling lighter.
I love it.
I mean, I wasn't even meant to be here. I was literally, in my pajamas watching All Access with a box of pizza, and then I was like, "You're needed." I'm like, "Oh God, it's that."
I saw it. I gave him the road flare, the old smoke signal.
Clark puts up a bat signal when he wants us.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, bat sign. Yeah. He's like, it sounds like you need me. Oh wow, beautiful. We got a fun show on tap today. It's a Saturday, so we're post SmackDown. We've got an interesting SmackDown to cover, but it feels like a bit of a bridge SmackDown. We talked about this a touch pre-show. I see you yawning over there, Soul. Anthony, I know you have similar feelings about last night's show, but we will get into it. And let's start with the one storyline that we can't stop talking about in the WWE, and that's the Bloodline, right? It's still going. I hear the groan. I'm with you to an extent.
Come on now. This is getting ridiculous. This should have ended. This is like Star Wars when they're making episode 7, 8, and 9. This is not needed. It's like Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, cool. 20 seasons of this. Hell nah. You should have ended with some dignity a long time ago. You had the chance and you've gone and blew it. Like, you do your thing, boy. I'll hold my tongue. I'll save the criticism for soon enough. I'm trying to be responsible.
All good. And I'm kind of with you to some extent. I did think last night there were some high spots as far as Sammy explaining, I was on the wrong side to Riddle. The way that played out, I thought that was one of Riddle's best promos in some time, but it has also been some time with Riddle. Anthony, I want to hear from you on how do you feel about the Usos still feuding with Sammy and Kevin? And are the cracks deep enough, despite what they said in that initial promo, that we might see the Usos leaving their tribal chief sometime soon?
There is no bloodline without the Usos. They've pretty much carried this story along with Paul Heyman when Roman's not there, which is the bulk of the time. So they really need Jay and Jimmy in this to keep this train going. I mean, unless Roman decides he suddenly wants to work a full-time schedule, which I doubt. So they really do need it. It does make sense outside of the bloodline. It doesn't really matter, but it would make sense the Usos would want their tag titles back. I mean, that's, for them not to want them back would make no sense. So from a storyline perspective, yeah, it makes sense that they're continuing the feud. They had a classic at Mania. So it would make sense that you want to continue that. Obviously, they're branching off with Solo, with Riddle. I can't see Riddle going over with that. I think Solo needs it, and quite frankly, considering Riddle's issues which caused him to be out of the company for a while, I think he's probably in the doghouse from that perspective, and will probably be paying his dues until they're comfortable, promoting him again to picking up wins.
I totally hear you on that. Although I will say that was one of his most serious and best promos he cut last night on the back end of the Sammy and Kevin, when Sammy was, showing the empathetic side, and then Kevin did no, you need to be fired up. You need to get redemption. This guy laid you out. That was actually one of my favorite segments of last night's show.
I mean, Riddle's the bar for Riddle promos are really low, but yeah, it was a decent segment. I do find it funny that, I know he posted social media before he came back. The grills, obviously, they're out now. Probably WWE probably went, you're not doing that here.
Yeah. And then I totally hear you on that. I got to get your take on this too. How did you feel about the night as a whole? Because I do think it took about a half hour of the show. I would say on Bloodline related storytelling, which I find fascinating for a 2-hour show. Did you have thoughts too to add to kind of what Anthony laid out just now?
Here's the thing. You can only go so far of a story. Every story needs an end. You can't drag it out for 2 or 6 months because you want to hit, 1,000 days champion milestones. You've got money rolling in. You don't want an NWO situation where you're keeping something alive just because the merch is rolling in when it's redundant. It's done. It's not even the same thing it was before. It's basically a shell of what was so great and people were captured by. That is what I feel like the Bloodline story is heading, because you can only go so much from here. Roman can only be so much of, the heel champion that does his matches. I mean, what's Roman's next offense going to be? It's going to be Roman comes out, does his whole thing. There's going to be a back and forth, spear, Superman punch, comeback thing. Usos or Solo intervene, cause an interference. Roman gets back up, hits a spear or submission or Superman punch, and gets the pin. Going to be repeating, right? I personally think that this story should have ended at Mania with Cody winning, because you had the setup. You should have taken the punch. Yes, I know you want to do the whole, he's lost now. He's going to do Brock. He's going to over-challenge Brock, which is such a big feat, and then go back for the Tribal Chief. But then at that point, could Roman get an injury and that's it all gone? And then you've wasted all this time when you had the shot? Because it's wrestling at the end of the day. We don't know what could happen. I mean, someone could get injured by just simply training. Someone could miss a flight for stuff. Someone can, get a really bad, infection, and then they're just not able to turn up for TV or defenses. I just think they're really balancing this on the edge of a knife with how much before people get bored of this storyline. I mean, me personally, I'm not really invested 100% because WWE isn't my thing, and that's okay. But apparently, some people don't like that I like AEW. Cool, thanks. I don't care. But I mean, I just worry that it's going to run itself out and ruin something so great, because it is a great storyline. But
it really is, and you made such a great point about striking while the iron's hot, especially given the risk of injury. And we don't know, because of the live performance aspect of pro wrestling, if you can stay healthy long enough to tell the story. You made so many great points there, so I really, really, really like. You made me think about things I hadn't previously thought of, even to the extent of, what if Cody gets hurt again, right? The perfect example is we saw him tear his pec merely a year ago, right? Like, that is the perfect example.
Look at Shane McMahon is another perfect example.
Right.
Just tore a quad when a minute in there. There's always a risk whenever you're doing a wrestling storyline anyway, because you can get injured like that. It's nothing. So I get the perspective of the long-term deal. Granted, Roman's barely there. I always find it when they selectively decide, oh, there's the 30-day rule. You have to defend the title every 30 days. And then they'll ignore it whenever Roman or Brock has the title. Or remember Dean Ambrose with his U.S. title, that they joked on air the fact that he never defended it. So, there's always a risk involved with that. I don't know how long they could stretch this out. I know, Clark, you speculated possibly Philly for WrestleMania 40, which is certainly a possibility, but I don't know if you had Cody win the Rumble again. You're going to get crap from fans regardless.
Yeah, people are going to complain. Rumble.
But no, I'm saying, let's say whether he won the Rumble or whether it was the Elimination Chamber that got him the title shot, whatever gets him the title shot, there are going to be people that complain. And if anything, it might be more telegraphed that Cody's winning because people are going to look at it like there's no way they're going to have him lose 2 years in a row. More so than this year. I think they might get more flack if they wait till Mania next year to do the title switch.
While I agree with that, I do think there's ways to book around that. I don't think he can win back-to-back Rumbles. I don't think that's what they should do. The idea I kind of laid out was, and I'll let you go, Soul, in just 1 second here, but the idea I kind of laid out was more of like Soul being the thorn in his side, Samoan Spike in his side, for lack of a better term. And I wanted him to be chased by Solo all year as he chases Roman, and then that moment where they're locked in the cage and it's just Solo and Cody all of a sudden, and they rise to their feet and Solo realizes, oh no, there's no bloodline. It's just me and Cody. And the crowd goes crazy for a number one contender shot, and maybe it's even in like a triple threat or a fatal four-way. But that is, I think, the way you actually finish the story for Cody.
Yeah, but I just feel like if you do that, it becomes Cody and Solo, and Roman's like a sub factor. Roman needs to be the number one factor. Like the problem is Roman's not willing to commit to be there to make this what it
100%.
That's the problem. That's the overall problem.
But I really badly want to hear from Soul too. By the way,
no, I know.
Yeah.
What I'll say is Roman's became something that he's hated. When Brock was champ, he's a part-time champ. Mm-hmm. Roman's a part-time champ. He's hardly ever there. He's not involved in storylines. It's his lackeys building up for the big boss who just sits in his castle and does piss all. I mean, why, when, even with AEW, MJF, they do little cool segments like he's contractually obligated to come here. That's how you do a heel champion properly. Yeah, they're not want to turn up and wrestle every day, but at least they're there. At least MJF is interacting with Darby, Jungle Boy, and Sammy. He's interacting with his opponents. Roman Reigns is just sitting at home and letting his family do it for him. He's letting Paul Heyman do it for him. I mean, heck, even with Impact as well, Josh Alexander was putting on absolute bangers and great stuff as a champion. Obviously, sadly, he had to relinquish it, but he was still an active participant. Mm-hmm. Even New Japan, Okada, and him dropping it as well, still being a workhorse and a representation for the company. Roman Reigns is a part-time champion who's just doing nothing. He's doing bugger all. He's only coming in for the pay-per-views, doesn't even chat up his opponents. I mean, even when with Cody before Mania 39, he wasn't even there pretty much most of the time, sending the lackeys to do it and just being like, I don't care. I'm not really fussed. I'll stay home, do my thing. And if that's his contract, then you know what? He's got a good contract. He can just do what he wants every time. But I mean, why would I want to tune in for Raw and SmackDown when the big honcho who's got the big prize is not going to be there? Why would I be invested? Tell me. I want to know, why should I be invested?
I'm 100% with you on that. The one thing I will say is you do have to give Roman a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with his history with the leukemia situation. He's got to work a more limited schedule than the rest of the roster, probably, right? In theory. Now, as on fire as he, I don't want to say was just yet, but maybe almost was, but on the initial build from Wreck Everyone and Leave during the No Fans era, on the way up to the Bloodline and everything, pairing with Heyman and the whole nine, you would just hope that he's in enough physical shape that the reason his schedule is so limited is because of that and not another reason, right? Not that he's, sitting at home, right? He does have a family, obviously, and God bless him if he's sitting at home and hanging out with his family. That's cool as could be. If he worked that out, like, much respect, right? But yeah, I do wonder because of the history with it's now like he's had, 3 cycles of it. Including sitting down for the Goldberg match before WrestleMania 36, which I know was a tough decision for a guy like Roman Reigns, like, right, Joe Anoa'i, right? He called himself Joe the first time, and right, that's one of those things that I think that's part of it, but also we kind of have lightning in a bottle, and I think if it's possible, I'm not saying drag it too long, right? But as long as you can, while you've got it, makes sense to me on that one. In particular, because of how electric Reigns is as far as fan interaction and like cross promotional type things. He's so remarkably marketable, right?
I really think, though, for the good of the company, if you're going to do one undisputed champion, your champion needs to be there more on a full-time basis. And if Roman can't do it, then you got to make the move to put that belt on Cody, because obviously he's doing the merch numbers as the reports came out. Wasn't he the biggest merch seller of Mania, if I'm not mistaken?
He had to be.
Yeah. So
other than my NWO shirts that sold out, those are the ones that were flying off the shirt.
I did see them on Fanatics. I actually have one in my cart. Now that you mention it. But I think you need to make the move. If you're doing it to get him to the 1,000 days, then that's fine. You can do the 1,000 days. What I would really do, because I don't think you stretch it out till next year, I would do a show at MSG and put it on the network and have Cody win the title in the building his father couldn't win the belt in. That's where I think you'd do it.
So how do you feel about that one? I'm like, yeah, in Madison Square, that'd be cool.
That's the only place you could do it. That would make sense.
What if they do this? Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Universal Championship at MSG, WWE Starrcade Network exclusive.
Oh,
you could totally do that.
Now we're talking. Too, because you go, you don't even put it on cable. You just go only on Peacock. No other way.
Yeah, you have to do it that way.
Yeah. I like it.
I mean, I know it would be expensive for them. It would be. That's why they don't really do too many televised shows at MSG, because it's a fortune to do. But you think about it, they'll make the money back. They'll be fine.
No, I will say it's really interesting. Bully Ray and Tommy had a interesting conversation on Busted Open recently about the Garden. And they were talking about there's 2 different Garden crowds, right? There's the blue collar Garden crowd and then there's the white collar Garden crowd. And if you do something like a special like that and you sell tickets and you don't make it a big sponsor thing and then you put Cody and Roman there, that's how you get that house in New York where it's scorching. That little combo would be perfect. If you could get somehow, it's not the poster during ticket sales necessarily, and you fill the house and then you make it Cody Roman.
If you just announce Roman's going to defend the title on a network special, you don't have to say Cody, and then you put Cody on there. I mean, you could put Cody on there ahead of time. It's going to sell out regardless.
I love that.
I think you do it as a network special.
It is the Garden. No, I think Soul is spot on with the network special idea. That's genius.
And I almost think you do it. Have Cody do what he did with AEW. If I don't win, I don't challenge for the title.
100%.
Do it again. Do it one more time, and this time he actually does win it.
Or you have him lose and Stardust comes back to win the title.
I don't think that's happening, but
they can't put it on Stardust.
They're not putting it on Stardust.
Either way,
we
do have to move on, though. We'll get back to AEW and all of that. We're gonna get back to AEW and all of that next. We got to talk Woods and LA Knight, which I thought was personally the weirdest match of the night. I don't understand how LA Knight's a heel, because he's not. He's as over as anybody. The fans want to cheer for him. They want to yell "yeah" every time he talks. And then they have him working heelish stuff. So I'm gonna toss it to you first, then toss it to Anthony. What did you see anything in this match that made sense outside of Xavier Woods is obviously a great talent and it makes sense to put him over, but I didn't see a whole lot.
No, I mean, I agree there. I mean, no offense to Woods. I think he's an absolutely entertaining individual. I love what he does and up, down, down, everything that he does for 2K in the games. He's a great guy, but he's not champion material. No offense, honestly. I love the guy. Guy seems awesome and amazing, but he's not someone that I feel like that's going to get the gold at the end of the day. With Big E and Kofi, their rises felt very, like, you could see it happen. You could see Kofi.
Organic.
I don't even want to say organic, because it was more that they're perfect, right? Big E's kind of like the big brawn guy who can basically do a powerhouse move, and that's something that's great there. Kofi's athletic and high flying and been there for a long time. But Xavier, what can you say about Xavier? Is he a technician? Is he a striker? Is he grappler? Is he who is Xavier Woods? That's the question there. But moving on to LA Knight, I mean, he's going to Raw. I really don't see him staying on SmackDown at all. I feel like he's going to get drafted to Raw. Either he's going to turn face and beat Austin Fury for the US Championship, or he's just going to be a talent for Raw's roster. I mean, it sucks. I really like LA Knight. I think he's entertaining as anything, cuts great promos, getting over the crowd. I just want better for the guy. I mean, I know Allison has like vendetta against him because he's 40.
He's too old.
God, how dare you be rude. Sorry,
totally,
Allison, happened to you too, pal. Your head's going to go.
I totally hear you. I totally hear you on LA Knight. I'm with you. And I think you made great points there too. Like, it's one of those things where Woods is so lovable. You want to root for him? How do you put him against LA Knight? It just doesn't add up to me mathematically. Like, LA Knight is who we're all kind of on right now as like he's on fire. He's so likable because of how funny he is.
I mean, what I'll say to you guys is, do you ever see Xavier Woods becoming WWE champion?
No.
Gosh, no. I think the height was King of the Ring, and they didn't do much with it. I think that was brutal. And to adding the backwoods as the roll-up finish, I think was great. But unless you're Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson level of wrestling grappling acumen, to have a roll-up type finish as like your biggest threat offensively is just a tough look, I think. But Anthony, I'm going to toss it to you. How did you feel about this one?
I always liked Xavier Woods, especially like Soul said, up, down, down, and the stuff he does with Claudio and Adam Cole and Prince Pretty. It's some of the best, most entertaining stuff on YouTube. I like Xavier a lot. However, if you're looking at it, comparison like New Day and The Shield, you knew, you never knew which one was the true leader of the group, who was the guy that was going to be the face of the company, because you knew all three had the potential to be world champions. Of course, they did, and obviously Roman became the most successful of the three. When you looked at New Day, you went, okay, Kofi's the major star now. He may win the world title. Big E's the one that they got their eye on that will eventually possibly become world champion. Xavier's just the fun guy with them. Like, you never thought Xavier was going to be a world champion. So it's weird now because obviously 2/3 of the group is injured. So you got to figure out something to do with Xavier. I would not have had Xavier beat LA Knight. LA Knight is somebody that I think he's gotten over despite what the company thought would happen. I think the company's put him with Bray Wyatt, figuring, okay, he's a guy that could make Bray or get Bray more over. What ended up happening was Bray did not get that. LA Knight became the major star. LA Knight, in a lot of ways, I mean, he's built himself very much like Austin. I mean, the is very similar to Austin stuff. So it's a very organic Austin type build with him. And yeah, I know Allison has an issue with the age thing. DDP was 43 when he won his first world title. And LA Knight is 3 years younger than that. I'm not saying that LA Knight's going to be, he's going to be a multi-time world champion. He's got potential. He's got the ability. Age is really just a number when you look at this stuff. I mean, he is somebody that you could definitely build up. I would start with a mid-card title. Obviously, you're not going to take the Intercontinental title off of Gunther to give to LA Knight. I don't think.
See, I don't want to cut you off and disagree with you there. I think you skip the line. I think you start with a world championship once you split them. At least an opportunity, even if he doesn't win. He's built for it. A main event match. And I think one of the most ironic things to me is as much as we talk about it, earlier in this very show, we all talked about strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Right? We kind of all had the same sentiment about that. With the LA Knight, what the heck are we doing?
He's got to take a mid-card
while the iron's hot. He's that good. The fans care that much. How LA Knight's not on LA Mania? I don't get. Lean into it. Keep doing it. Keep saying it.
Well, we have an idea
about it.
We have an idea why he wasn't on the shows.
Yeah, we do know, but at the same time, it's like, stay on it.
No, I agree.
Keep the pedal down, for lack of a better analogy. There,
he's not
keep the pedal to the floor
because we don't know. Because we don't know when these belts may get split. We don't even know when Cody's going to take the thing. So at this point, I think you gotta put him as a mid-card champion. I think you have to, and build him up there until there's that space. Like you said, if they split the belts, then you can do that. You got to give him something now. And he can't be doing jobs to Xavier Woods.
I hear you there.
He can't be on the losing streak now. So he needs to start picking up wins. I know there was some speculation, and I'm not going into rumors, but I know there's speculation that he may be in line for something big coming up. But you'd be losing out on him if you don't capitalize on the audience getting behind him. Yes.
I'll say one final point as well. If there's people out there disagreeing, LA Knight's not over. He's not popular. Guys, we were at Mania. How many people were chanting, yeah? They weren't chanting any yowie wowie or anything like that. How much Bray Wyatt merch was still sitting on the shelves? How much LA Knight merch did we see?
So what about the night? I think it was the Monday after Raw. We went to the Superstore because we were kind of forced to go there. Do you remember hearing the crowd popping? Like I don't know if it was something about LA Knight, but
yeah.
They thought, we didn't know if he was in there or not because there was this huge crowd, but like people were doing the and like doing the whole thing. The guy's over.
They were losing their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where, too, for me, it's like, so he's 40 now, and he's over enough that we care. The part of your fan base that's vocal cares, right? About LA Knight in relation to other people on the roster. Strike while the iron's hot. What are you doing? And two, I didn't want to root for LA Knight against Woods. and I didn't want to root for Woods against LA Knight. It just doesn't make sense because they're both over in their own unique ways. There's a way to take advantage of how over Woods is via video games and how over LA Knight is via mic work and straight up the old big C Captain Charisma.
Yeah.
That's something that's undeniable with a guy like LA Knight. And to put him in a situation, I thought LA Knight and Woods both navigated it perfectly. Do I care about Woods versus Gunther? No.
He's wood being chopped. That's
No.
exactly.
I would toss it to you two. But like, do you care, Soul?
No.
Do you care? No.
Literally,
right? Like,
Woods is being put in there essentially just as a victim. He's the next meal for Gunther. That's exactly what he is.
I would say we're all three gamers. We like Woods. We want to root for Woods.
But he's got no shot.
What's Gunther really? Come on. What are you doing to us? It seems borderline unfair. And so, I mean, we'll get into that more as the weeks go on because we're going to see the results of it. Let's move on to the next topic, which is a funky one. And then we've got a final surprise topic, which is Rampage. We're going to run down ASAP for the last 5 minutes. We've got Triple H has been confirmed by Nick Khan to be the head of creative. I can quote our own article. It says Monday, April 3rd, when this deal was officially announced, Vince sent out a company-wide email to our 1,000 or so employees, including myself. And in the email, he laid out the structure of the new co-dot. Specifically, he articulated that Paul Levesque remains the sole chief creative officer, sole period. And that's with no you. That's not you, Soul. How does that work? Does that mean that technically because I'm in charge of the business side of the business that I didn't seek input from other people? I wouldn't seek input from Vince McMahon, who communicated that's always going to be the case. And that's a quote from Nick Khan. So, based on that, it sounds like Triple H is back in charge of creative, but I'm going to go ahead and take the reins here and say it doesn't look like it so far, given the last 2 weeks. I'm going to toss it to Soul, then Anthony. Does it look like Triple H is in charge of creative?
Do you want me to be 100% honest on my feelings about Triple H?
Yep, be 100% honest.
I do not care.
Oh, you don't care? That's even better, actually.
I
actually dig that.
I really don't
That's
care.
an interesting take.
If you had to guess, do you think it's Vince or Trips?
Man, it could be Shane for all we know. Who knows? He's just running the show back then.
No, dude, he just got surgery. It definitely isn't Shane.
The
only one it can't be.
Right? If Triple H, WWE could be run by monkeys, and I still wouldn't care because I don't care. I don't care who's making creative plans. I don't care who's running the show. WWE is his own little entity that I'm literally in the rearview mirror. It's there.
It's his action figure toys. I hear you. Anthony, give me your thoughts on the Vince Trips situation.
The fact that they had to make yet another statement about this tells you that there's obviously enough doubt in the fan community that they felt that they needed to make this announcement again, that Hunter's in charge. I felt leading up to Mania, it was Hunter. I mean, obviously there was speculation with the almost Brock thing that may have been a Vince thing. With Vince back in the picture, there's always going to be that speculation. Now that Raw that we went to, the post Raw, obviously that was a cluster mess of, I think, Hunter and a Frankenstein Vince taking the reins. I don't know whether or not that's the case anymore. I think I would hope that the backlash that Raw received, and that's no pun intended, I would think the backlash that they got from a lot of the fans may have been to the point where it's like, okay, let's maybe like not get too involved, Vince. I haven't really felt that like, oh, this is Vince's. I feel like it's some weird combination at different points, but I think for the most part, it's been Hunter, I would say, other than that Raw.
Definitely hear where you're coming from. I'm kind of a tweener here between the two. I care some. It feels like Vince to me, which scares me to death. And I just hope it is Triple H, and I hope that Nick Khan's telling the truth in that interview and the quote we read. And let's move past that, because Anthony, I hear where you're coming from on the.
I would hope it's Hunter, but I don't
I don't want to get my hopes too up.
No, I just don't get the feeling that it doesn't feel necessarily like the WWE before Hunter took over. That's the reason why I'm saying it doesn't have that same feel to it, which is, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And right before we get into Rampage, which is up next, first time ever on a Saturday daily broadcast, we're going to cover the Rampage episode. Anthony, my mom commented,
which I have not watched, but go ahead.
Maybe the coolest comment ever. The trifecta. We're in there.
Yeah.
We're the trifecta. We're now a stable. That's kind of the coolest thing ever. We're the trifecta. I'm in. Yeah.
Getting shirts made.
All time. Shout out my mom. So card last night at Rampage, guys. I did actually shockingly watch it. Okay. And I don't want to say shockingly because I actually am a total AW mark. I totally watched it. We had Aussie Open from Japan, who you have experience with, Anthony. You can comment on Aussie Open versus the Best Friends defending the IWGP Tag Team titles in the opener. This was a solid match. Aussie Open retained. So obviously, I'm going to toss it straight to you as our AEW guy on this one. How did you feel about this one?
Well, thank you very much, big man. I love this. This was a very good showing from the Best Friends, as well as a good title defense from Aussie Open, the IWGP Tag Team Champions. But I think there's something interesting was obviously on the social medias from New Japan Global and AEW. They teased Aussie Open with FTR. And I think Forbidden Door, we're going to get these two against each other, maybe in an all titles on the line match. I feel like that's something we can easily get in the future and have. I feel like if anything, FTR will win and get the IWGP Tag Team titles back. Depending on the things go in the future, I feel like FTR with those two titles will be good again. I don't think they're going to get when FTR had everything except the AEW tag titles. They had the Ring of Honor, AAA, and the IWGP. I don't think we're going to get that sort of level again, but I can easily see them holding two pair of tag belts and, being the greatest tag team they are and just running amok on the whole roster.
Absolutely. I love that. And by the way, this is even better because Anthony, obviously you did admit that you didn't watch Rampage last night, but the idea of FTR versus Aussie Open at a Forbidden Door, does that entice you?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's if anybody loves tag team wrestling, FTR is definitely the definition of classic tag team wrestling, and Aussie Open. I think they could have a great match. I do. I mean, it's definitely appealing. I don't really want to see FTR do the belt collecting thing again. They need the AEW tag titles. It was a joke when they were collecting all the belts, but not the company they actually work for.
Okay, I love that point you just made, and I think that's gonna be our final point. So I'm gonna run through the other two matches really quick, and then Soul and Anthony we'll get right back to this. So we had Emi Sakura versus Ty Valkyrie. Obviously, Valkyrie got the win. She looked outstanding. So I think you would agree, right? We both watched. Taya looked, world class as usual. And then in the main event, we had Jungle Boy Jack versus Sean Spears, which the only thing I'll say about that before we get back into that tag team picture stuff is Jungle Boy Jack better every single time, and Shawn Spears is underrated every single time he has a singles match, which I think is unfair to him. He's been pigeonholed as somebody that doesn't know what he's doing, but is knowledgeable about bell to bell stuff, but not necessarily beyond a coach.
Mhm.
He can work with anybody, and Spears deserves a mountain of credit,
Of course.
I would say. But back to the tag team picture. I think that there's an opportunity here with Forbidden Door, because I agree with what Anthony said about the belt collector situation, and I agree with what you said, Soul, about logically speaking, you're talking about Aussie Open and FTR. Are you kidding me? That for how do we solve this? Is it a multi-tag man match, or is it a one-on-one match at Forbidden Door? I'm going to start with you, Soul, and then toss it to Anthony.
I think one-on-one is, they did it multi-man last year, but I think one-on-one, if they build up this feud over until Forbidden Door, it'll sell itself.
I love that. Get it right the first time or the second time on this one. And yeah, Anthony, how do you feel?
I think I've always preferred I think the one-on-one might be the most logical choice. Whenever you get the multi-people tag matches, other than maybe ladder matches, they all get jumbled anyway when the more people you have involved with them. But like the ladder match, for example, there's gaps. There's a big spot, so this team's out, so this other team fights. But realistically, one-on-one's probably the smart play, and I would think in a lot of ways Forbidden Door last year did not exactly live up to what the hype was, and I know there were things outside their control, injuries and stuff like that. So I think they're going to want to probably try to step up this year to meet the hype beyond it, because I think they're going to have a hard time if they under-deliver at another Forbidden Door, because then if you try to go to that well a third time, people are like, the first two weren't that good. That's the problem that they have right now.
I hear you there. And then, Soul, you want to get in one last thing about FTR's newly signed contracts?
Yeah, so they're now signed with AEW until 2027 as a 4-year deal. Congratulations for them. Great addition for the roster, the tag team division there. But they said after that, they're done. 27 comes around, FTR retiring. No offense in wrestling, retirement never means anything. Just look at Ric Flair, the man's still going. Whip-de-doo. But I want to ask you guys, do you honestly think FTR is going to retire after their current AEW deals expire?
A lot of things can happen in 4 years. You can completely change your mind. Year 4 goes around, you're going, well, I don't know. Maybe I could go a little longer. I mean, AJ Styles said that, and I don't think there's been any indication that he's actually going to retire. Retirement in wrestling is almost a non-real thing unless you're forced to by injury.
And I also think at that age, retirement's interesting, period, right? Leaving anything that you have a passion for or have enjoyed and worked so hard at for so long is always difficult. So you never know about coming back. I think I'm kind of in the middle on this one. I would imagine, though, given lifestyle stuff, Dax family stuff, I could see a hang them up for good, as long as they have a secondary career lined up, per se. Given the way that they live their lives, from what I've seen as a third party, that would add up to me. But at the end of the day, of course, 27 thankfully is 4 years away.
Think of the teams that may pop up between now and then that they're going to want to work with.
Of course.
So that's always a possibility.
Yes, and 2027 is 4 years away, thankfully, for all of us. But if they do retire in 2027, I think they've given us enough, I would call FTR Hall of Famers.
They are.
And the world class of the industry. But that's going to be it for today's show, guys. It's been a freaking awesome show. With the three of us, we got Soul, we got Anthony, we got me. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe not the exact same crew. Probably not the exact same crew, but the exact same crew will be back again shortly from here. Like, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much. Also tune in to Soul Sessions and Take It to the Table. All of our shows on the YouTube channel. And thank you for tuning into the daily broadcast. We'll see you guys soon.